Well, this is a radio network, EWTN, Global Catholic Radio, and that means there's always something being talked about. And in this hour, on Monday through Friday, it's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Jerry Escher, along with Debbie Georgiani, and you, our listeners, and the entire show team. And Debbie, good to be back with you again today. How you doing?
I'm on Skype. We had some of our Facebook and YouTube chat members comment that they could see you, Jerry, but couldn't see me. We had some storms here in Arizona, so I was not on Skype yesterday. That was the reason. So I'm back. Hi, guys. Start your chat going because this is going to be an interesting conversation. Jerry put this on the calendar, and this is a hot button for me, so this is going to be interesting. I'm going to give you the number in advance, and then Jerry's going to share why he put this on the calendar and why we're going to be discussing it today. Here's the number. Weigh in on this, guys. 1-833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Okay, Jerry, take it away.
Well, you know, one of the toughest scripture passages to really wrap our minds around and actually live out in daily life is the one where it says, "Judge not, that you be not judged." Okay? So what exactly does that mean to you? And we want to hear from you, our listeners, about how you understand that passage and how you live that passage out in your life. Does that mean we cannot judge the actions of others? Does that mean we cannot judge other people's souls? Does that mean that we cannot judge anything about those people? You know, what exactly does this mean? I mean, there is one passage in the Bible where St. Paul says, "I don't even judge myself." So when we come across a passage that says, "Judge not, that you be not judged," again, it's one of the trickiest verses in the Bible, and would seem perhaps to distinguish between right and wrong actions, that we are able to judge those. But when it comes to another person's eternal destiny, we might want to stay away from that. But we want to hear what you think about this.
Yeah, and so please weigh in on this, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in this introduction, and then we're going to open up the phone lines for you. They're open right now. I believe that Ryan is answering the phones, and he is ready to go. So if you want to weigh in, because remember, this is your show, 833-288-3986. And Jerry, I go to Luke 6:37, where it says, "Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven." And I want to just highlight that part where it says, "Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned," because this is where the hot button comes in for me, because we loosely throw that word around, judging. The moment we acknowledge a sin that is happening in front of us, the first thing that somebody says is, "Hey, take the plank out of your own eye before you take the speck out of your brother's eye. You know, don't judge, or you're going to be judged." And that's not what we're talking about here, Jerry. And I think it's very interesting if we can really learn something from this conversation, because I actually in religious education, we would spend a good couple weeks on this, because the teens really wanted to get a good grasp of this. And what you said, Jerry, is so important about the eternal destiny, and that's the key with the word judging. And so I just wanted to stress that, and I would love to hear what our listeners have to say about this. 833-288-3986.
Yeah, and even if we are looking at the actions of somebody, and I think we would universally agree that we are allowed to judge the actions of somebody. I mean, if somebody's beating up another person, we can very logically and obviously look at that and say that is a wrong action. But there are some that are maybe a little more gray area. But even when we do make an attempt to judge an action on the part of somebody, how then do we respond, or do we respond? I think if it's someone, say you come across somebody beating up a little old lady or something, I think we have an obligation to respond, to jump in and help that little old lady. If it's somebody, who's maybe, using foul language or something, well, maybe we don't jump into that fray because, maybe it's just somebody, a couple people walking down the street or something. But we want to hear from you, our listeners. You always drive this show, and you have such articulate and really deep and eloquent takes, and you're going to do that again today at 833-288-3986. We got a couple phone lines still open, so jump on one of those and be among the first to share your take on this.
And there's other ways you can weigh in on this conversation as well. You can text us. You text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for a response and then put your question or comment in, and we'll be happy to put it into the discussion at just the appropriate time. You can also email us, take2, the number 2, at EWTN.com. You can go weigh in on social media. Jeff Burson is monitoring that as we speak on Facebook and YouTube. Any which way you can get a hold of us, we would love to hear from you, because you really shape this conversation. And we say this every single show, but we really do mean it. We want to walk away a little bit changed, a little bit closer to God. So we're talking about judging today and what that means for us as Catholic Christians, for ourselves and for others. And what is our part in that? Should we be active in it? This is a very interesting conversation, Jerry. I really do think we need a little bit longer than an hour, but I think we're going to try to attempt to do it within an hour. So it's all good.
Well, another question that really could come into play here, and it's not always in every situation, but, what do we do if we see somebody doing something, saying something that is blatantly wrong and maybe offensive and perhaps even hurtful of somebody else physically or their reputation? Do we step in and take action at that point? It could be in the workplace, somebody slandering or saying detraction against somebody else or gossiping. So these all kind of are tied together here, and these are the areas of life that sometimes Debbie, I think we shy away from, because we get a little embarrassed, or we don't want to offend the person who's actually doing the harm to somebody else. We may know them, we may be their friend, and then we hear them or see them doing something, and we may feel a little bit skittish about, maybe injuring our relationship with them or our friendship with them. And let me say something to that too. We're not the police. We're not the world's police people. We don't go around, with a whistle in our mouth and calling fair and foul, and you're out and you go sit in the corner and stuff like that. But Jesus, I think, makes it clear that we ought to be able to judge actions by their moral qualities, moral character, but definitely not judge a person in terms of where he or she stands in their relationship with God and where they may be bound for all eternity. So I think that's a clear distinction. But what about the rest?
No, and I wish you would keep saying that throughout the entire show, because I think it's very important. That's what we need to really walk away from and understand better as Christians. Here's the number, folks. Please weigh in on this. This is your opportunity to say something about this kind of hot topic, because we're hearing a lot of stuff right now flying through the media, people judging one another and in the politicians and this happening and that happening. It's just a crazy world out there right now. So we want to hear from you. 833-288 EWTN. Again, that's 833-288-3986. Please call in. We count on you. This is your show, Take Two, with Jerry and Debbie. And when we come back, we're going to Teresa and the others to hear what you have to say about this interesting topic.
Good to have you with us. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Rich is with us on the board, the producer running the controls. Jeff Burson, as Debbie said, on social media. Ryan is screening your calls today. So Ryan is the first person you get to talk to. And as Debbie always says, when you get on the show, you're on hold, but you get to hear what is happening on the show. So you don't miss anything, even while you're waiting on hold. And that could even help you better formulate your question, or maybe even give you something else that you might want to think about and contribute to the show. Real quick, before we go to the calls, I'll let Debbie do that. But EWTN Live with Father Mitch Pacwa tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. He'll be joined by Romaine Lizet, and John Sacco Magnificat Foundation Silver Jubilee. So Romaine and John are joining Father Mitch Pacwa tonight. Again, it's the Magnificat Foundation's Silver Jubilee at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on EWTN Live. You know Father Mitch. He's always got great guests and a great show, so don't miss that.
Okay, first up is Teresa in Boston, Massachusetts on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Teresa, and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Thank you. Hi. You've caught me with, this is something that I've really done a lot of reflection on. I am a nurse who does counseling, and so people go through all kinds of things, obviously, and in trying to help them understand that they can see and act as evil, that they can judge evil but not the person, and that we need to see Jesus in everyone. We need to see God, the God spark. And they're all children of God, even the most heinous of people. And so the only real appropriate response is to pray for them. And somewhere in the Bible it says, if you pray for your enemies, hot coals will burn on their head. So that kind of helps when people need to think about that. But it's God trying to get the person to turn to him. And I recently heard a sermon that I thought brought this home so wonderfully. And he told, I don't even remember when or where, but he told of a man who was abusive to his family and nasty to his wife and his kids, and never gave them the time of day and turned them away. And then he became very ill, and he lost his ability to speak. And in his inability to speak, he had
a conversion.
Wanted to make amends to his family. Mm-hmm. And he was unable to say it, so he was gesturing, and they thought that he was telling them to go away, that he didn't want them there, so they did. Mm-hmm. And just before he died, he realized what had happened, that they were responding to how he always responded. And he said, the important person knows, or the most important one knows.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's the point, right?
Yeah, right. Well, Teresa, just a couple things I just want to say, because you do counseling, and thank you so much for being a nurse and a counselor as well. What a great vocation to be involved in. And just real quickly, I just wanted to ask you, when I was being trained for life skills, they used to talk about all the time that, instead of telling a person what's going on with them, maybe asking them those important questions to get them to have that own personal reflection. In your experience, do you find that to be a better way to operate, rather than saying, hey, you're doing wrong? How about saying, have you thought about this? Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's actually why talk therapy, I think, is so powerful. It's people are speaking out loud the thoughts of their hearts. And as they do it, they're hearing it. And it helps them to organize. And it's really about perspective and turning, These are people who love the Lord. And yet when someone they love is wronged, or something horrible in the news, or we get involved with the politics of the day, and you want to say this is evil, and you become angry, the anger is okay, but don't sin.
Right, right. Yeah, and I'm reminded of a saying that I've mentioned many times on this show. Debbie will already know what I'm about to say, and it's attributed to a saint back in one of the early centuries, and that is, everyone you meet or everyone you encounter is locked in a battle that you know nothing about. So be kind always. And that is not to let anybody off the hook for bad actions, immoral, improper, evil actions. But we don't know what's going on inside the person. And so I think your point, Teresa, to judge the actions, but pray for the person. We don't want to damn the person to hell. We want to let God do that sorting out in the end. But certainly if we see people doing evil actions, if there is a necessity for us to get involved and to intervene in some way because another person is being harmed or there is grave harm being done in some way, then that may be required. But the judging of that soul is ultimately up to God alone. And so I appreciate your call, Teresa. Debbie, I thought that was a great first call to get us started today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Teresa, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you for calling into your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Okay, Marta is up next in Roswell, New Mexico on EWTN.com. That's how you're listening, Marta. Thank you so much for waiting and welcome to Take Two.
Well, thank you for taking my call. I appreciate the topic, and I've wrestled with this probably since the 70s. I have yet to figure out a effective or a way that I'm satisfied with to respond to people that when I make an attempt to be very careful to discuss behavior, it always turns around to, well, that's who that person is. So when you say that, you're expressing judgment on me as a person, and it doesn't matter, how much you're saying no. It's not that, it's the decision. Well, that it's not a decision. This is just how I'm made. This is who I am. And it has to do with every sin from anger to addictive behaviors to everything else. And I've never been able to articulate well how to counter that.
So, Marta, just so that I'm clear, you're talking about people when something is pointed out in action, they're feeling identified as that type of person versus unable to separate the action from who they are. Is that what you're saying?
Right, and it's extremely, of course, as you know, it's just gotten over the decades. It's gotten more and more so that you can't mention one thing or another and refer to an activity without, oh, well, you're such and such phobic, or you're anti, or you're a hater of a particular group, or,
right.
So I have yet to really articulate what I'm really trying to say.
Well, is this close? I mean, maybe we change the semantics. Instead of saying, if we know somebody who tells lies all the time, instead of saying you are a liar or that person is a liar, we could say that person tells lies. That is a person who tells lies, rather than placing a label on them. Kind of separate the person out, because really, when it gets down to it, we all are people who do things that are wrong. We do things that are right, but we aren't necessarily identified with those things. We are human beings created in the image and likeness of God with great worth and great dignity, and then our conditioning and our training and our education and our environment and all of these things contribute to going into what we do. And Debbie, you can speak to this much better than I can. I'll let you do that. But we're not the sum of the things we do, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Can I say something, too, though? The insistence on it being about the person comes from that person. It's not, I try very hard to keep it on whatever the decision is. The insistence of equating the action with who the person is comes from that person or from the person defending them.
Right. Well, because
I don't know how personal I need to get, but
they're taking it personally and getting offended right away. So they're taking it as a direct attack. But here's the thing, Marta. This is what I do to navigate this situation, because this happens quite frequently, actually, in the ministry work that Jerry and I do. You'll get comments all the time. People will make assumptions, or they'll make it's their perspective, and they feel very strongly about it. What I tend to do, Marta, is I go back. If you listen to what Teresa was saying, and I was trying to ask her this question, and she answered it so beautifully. Ask questions. Instead of making statements, when you ask questions, you allow that person to just explore where they're at. So a very key question is, how is that working for you? When somebody says, I like my life the way it is, my life is going strong, say, really, how's that working for you? Get them to try to peel back the layers a little and see if they can look and maybe look at things a little differently. I find that asking questions has really helped me get past that, because I have a very strong family, Marta, an extended family, and they get offended very easily. And so we all do. And so it's a tough situation, but I find that asking questions really helps. Have you explored that avenue and see if that maybe works?
Well, when it comes to, I'd say, extended family, because of geographics, I don't see a lot of the people in question that often, and so the communication isn't particularly frequent. It usually, when it is, it's pretty, just first surface. But I just anticipate there being situations that will come up. Family member has 3 kids. 2 of them are married. 1 of them has a same-sex partner. If there ever becomes a situation where there's a quote-unquote wedding, I can already see, if I do not treat those situations quote-unquote equally, that it's going to cause a huge, explosion. So,
right.
I'm kind of dreading it.
Well, there are situations in life, as we all know, where we have to make judgments, if you will, in terms of the actions. Again, not judging people and their motives, or where they stand with God, or where they're going to end up for all eternity. But we as Catholic Christian believers who want to follow Jesus Christ and his teachings and his morals, we have to follow our conscience as well. And if that means not associating with certain people, not attending certain functions or gatherings, or not participating in certain groups or movements or what have you, then that's really the way it has to be. And it could all be done in charity. That's the key. Everything done in charity, I think, Debbie. And that way we can hopefully at least not escalate things even further. But people are going to be offended by us when we take a stand for the truth, if and when we do. But we don't want to inflame things any more than we have to. But we still have to say this is my choice, and this is why, and maybe make it a teaching moment for some people. So.
Right. Yeah, I like how you said that, Jerry. You have to be true to your conscience, and that's so true, Marta. This is the world we live in, and this is what we're all kind of trying to get through. So we're with you in that, and prayers do work. They are very valuable. So I would definitely ramp up prayers, especially when you're entering into a situation that could be uncomfortable. But like Jerry said, with charity, I think you can do it, Marta, and stay true to your conscience. We're praying around you, and we thank you so much for introducing that into this conversation. It helps us to get a better perspective of what we're all dealing with. So thank you, and have a beautiful rest of your day in the great state of New Mexico.
All right, we're going to get a couple of quick social media. We actually got a couple of emails. Excuse me. And then, John, you'll be next after that. And then when we get to Jean Ann in Florida and some others here, we got an open phone line, 833-288-3986. So if I mention your name, you're on the line. You are going to be coming up right away. But want to fit a couple of emails in here because people do take the time to email us. And Alan from Loveland, Colorado, Debbie, he said, Dear Jerry and Debbie, people who are quick to say, don't judge, always ignore John 7:24, which says in Jesus' own words, do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment. And he's getting that out of the Revised Standard Version Catholic Edition. He says, God bless you all, Alan from Colorado. And then we heard from, let's see, who's that one from? I'm going to have to go back and
scroll
get the name
down.
of that.
You have to scroll down further.
Yeah,
okay.
Karen said, I think judge not and you will not be judged is Satan's favorite verse in the Bible. But there is that other one on there that I have to get the emailer for. So
Yeah, Karen, that's interesting what Karen's saying is because that's so true. That's why so many people are silent right now. And everybody's saying, well, if it's good for you, then okay. But that's not good for the body of Christ. I mean, I saw a Facebook post just yesterday, Jerry, that said, if you don't speak up when you see evil, you have blood on your own hands. And that's so true. Wouldn't you say, Jerry? What do you think about that?
Well, the Bible's clear on that. I think there's a passage in the book of Ezekiel that says, if you correct your brother or your sister, you will lead them away from their sin, and if you do not, then they will die, but you will also die. Something I'm paraphrasing badly, but yeah, we have an obligation to correct people when they are in sin. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so John, you're up next in San Angelo, Texas.
I think we got a break coming here in just about 30 seconds. So
we do. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see the clock. John, can you hold on just a little bit, John? I'm so sorry. You're in Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network. We want to get to you next, but like Jerry said, that clock is ticking. See how quickly this hour moves. This is your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're talking about judging today. Can we judge others' actions, or should we stay silent? Is that the right thing to do as Catholic Christians? We want to hear from you. 833-288-3986. This is a very interesting conversation and one we all need to have. We'll be right back.
Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Thanks to the affiliates for carrying the program, and thanks to you for making it already another wonderful conversation. We're talking today about what it means, the Bible verse, the passage in there where it says, judge not that you be not judged. Can we judge actions? Can we judge people? Do we separate the two? Do we say something? Do we step in and intervene if somebody is performing actions that are morally objectionable? Well, how do we handle all of this? That is our conversation, and you can get in on it at 833-288-3986. Okay, John, as we promised, thanks for your patience, brother, in San Angelo, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, John.
Hi, how are you? God bless you.
God bless you too, John.
This topic calls to mind the gospel story of the publican and the sinner, where the publican basically tells God, thank you for not letting me be like that man over there. And then we hear the prayer from the sinner to God, said, forgive me, I am a sinner. And basically he asked for God's mercy. So in this particular case, we're looking at ourselves, all of us, as people who are in need of God's mercy, and if we receive it, then we have a Christian obligation to not so much preach, but to help guide people to acceptance of God's love, forgiveness, and mercy.
Right, right. But John, when we are working with people we care about and that we are in friendship with, sometimes it's difficult because when they are in a bit of darkness, it's very hard for them to see anything. It's very hard for them to want anything different because that's all they know. That's all they're comfortable with. How would you suggest we encourage others to receive God's love and mercy, to maybe think about a different path? What would you suggest?
Well, I would suggest is sharing your own life story because for myself, I have experienced that darkness myself. And it was the example of others who, out of love, prayed for me, guided me, and sometimes accepted my loudness and resistance to their prayers. So, but because of that, God doesn't give up. They didn't give up, and so my love increased to where I could accept God's mercy, and I have a desire to share that.
Well, that's beautiful, John, and there's been a transformation in you as well, and I believe that these kinds of things, we can learn as we go through all of these things, Debbie, and that's what we want to have a conversation about something like this for, because there isn't always this one exact way to handle a situation and to know how we're going to approach a situation, and we have these opportunities to grow and learn and be transformed. We got to keep in mind that, as we go about, we are told to judge actions and to be discriminating in certain situations, but everything is a learning opportunity for us, and we always got to keep in mind the fact that we need to be standing before God as those who are learning and growing, and hopefully growing in virtue and patience and love and leading, like Debbie, you said, helping people, maybe bring people along just one more step that day, just one more little step, and then the next day they can take another little step, and pretty soon they've come far enough to where they're maybe seeing things a little bit differently and in the light of Christ and in the light of the gospel, so
Mm-hmm.
I think, John, what you had to share was very helpful.
Yeah, very profound, John. And you made me think about just being, that little bit of glimmer of light to those that just, they can't see anything in front of them. And if you can just be that little spark of light, you give them that hope. And it sounds like in your life, and as mine too, John, I remember many periods of darkness where that beautiful light came into view, and I was like, you know what? There's hope. I can make this. And so, John, that I love what you have to say. You're a beautiful soul, and I love your outlook on it. And I think it really helped the discussion today. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and may God bless you, your ministry, and may God follow you always.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We will take that, to be sure, and we wish the same thing for you and all of our listeners. Take two with Jerry and Debbie talking about judging not and not being judged in return. And up next, we are going to go to Javier. He is in Houston, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio. Hi, Javier. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, how's it going?
Going well, Javier.
I was thinking about this. I really love your show, first of all. It's the only show I listen to on Catholic radio.
Oh, thank you very much.
Because I think that's where the future of the radio needs to go, more like y'all show, more open-minded. I love it. But regarding judging, I think you should only judge people that you know close or family members. Besides that, unless someone's preaching like in a corner and they're saying the wrong things, or because I really don't like to get to Protestants and all that, but I really had to judge this one guy because he kept on coming at me with the Bible. He would see my rosary and tell me, "Oh, Catholics are this, Catholics are that," and I don't know nothing about the religion. I was like, "What?" I was like, "Okay, whatever." And he kept on talking about the Bible for me, and I was like, I finally had to tell him, it was like, for the most part, Catholics put out Christianity, and that yes, they had some flaws, and yes, they didn't, but they started Christianity. They put it mainstream. But besides that, I don't really like judging people. If someone's in the wrong path, I keep to myself, unless they're family members, because then people are quick, especially if you do anything wrong, to point out your hypocrisy or you did this, you did that. So it's just, if you come at it with love and understanding with friends or family members, hopefully they take it well. And judge others if they're doing something in, especially preaching or coming at you at the wrong way. I think it's okay to judge then, and then it all varies. But for me personally, I just want to judge family members or friends and use it as a friendly, not necessarily preaching, but more of a, trying to help them out, especially if they see them struggling.
Right. Well, Javier, let me just comment on something, because you said something that just jumped out at me, and I just wanted to share this. First of all, thank you so much for the kind words. You're most kind, and we appreciate that so very much. But about the show. But real quickly, you said you carry the rosary and you pray the rosary. You have the greatest weapon right there. As Padre Pio always says, that is the greatest, most powerful weapon you can possibly have. And for those folks that you encounter that you're not really close to, that are out of your sphere of influence, or you maybe just encounter and they maybe look at you like, what are you doing as a Catholic? Well, you have that rosary, and that rosary has power, and with the prayers. And I just think that is an awesome way to allow God's grace to enter in and to let God do the work. You're right. There's things we can say in certain situations and things we can't, but we can always pray. And I'm telling you, I'm learning more and more, Javier, as I get older. I hit 50 and I had a huge aha transformation in my life. And I believe so much in the power of prayer. I can't even begin to, I wish I could just scream it from the rooftops of how important it is. And you have that rosary. That is huge. What do you think, Jerry? I know you would agree with me on that.
Yeah, I can't add anything to that at all. I think, he's got the powerful rosary there. And, just the one thing, though, there was something that you said early on, and I always, as Debbie said, she likes to jump in and comment before she forgets about it, and I have actually forgotten what I wanted to comment on. You said something about you judging people only if you knew them or something like that, and I was just going to ask you for a clarification on that. Is that what you said? You said you felt like you could only judge people if you knew them, and I just wanted to make sure how you use that word judge, like judging their actions or not necessarily judging them as a person. Was I hearing you right?
Yeah, more judging their action. And I start judging mainly if they start looking for it, mainly because you can start seeing them sad or angry or something's going wrong in their life. And then you try to tell them, oh, maybe you should do this. Like, why are you so angry? Well, let's get to the root of the problem and maybe why the actions. And regarding the rosary, I wasn't praying it. As I guess Hispanics, I was just wearing it, and people were just coming after me like, oh, what's this, what's that? Yeah, and I wasn't even praying. I wasn't praying in public, or I was just wearing it, and this guy kept on coming at me with the Bible for some reason. So that was the weird part. But yeah, I only judge people that are, and not necessarily judging, but people that are down and they're close friends or family members, and it's usually because they're depressed or anger or something's going wrong, and I try to correct it, but at a good way, and not trying to come off too judgmental. But besides that, I don't really try to get in no one else's life, because once you do that, you're looking for problems where that person, you don't know where he's coming from, and if you don't know him personally, he might not take it the right way.
So you try to encourage them. Yeah. Real quickly, I have to jump in on this one, because you said you have the rosary on you. Do you have that rosary blessed, Javier?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
good.
get everything blessed.
Okay, good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that, Jerry. I just had to jump in before Javier hung up the phone.
No, it's just Mother Debbie, Javier. Just Mother Debbie making sure your rosary is blessed.
Right, exactly. Oh, I love it.
Anything else, Javier?
Well, no, that's it. Just keep up the great work, and hopefully, I wish they would give y'all more 2 hours, but I mean, y'all really speak to people, mainly because I know Jerry talked about your depression before in the show, and then about your divorce, and people can still relate to that, because unfortunately, like, there's so many Catholics that think, especially here in America, that you have to be a certain way, you can fall, and it doesn't mean you stop being Catholic. And I just love that you bring that St. Francis, that Latin America version of Catholicism here to the States, which it desperately needs. So every other call you hear is, oh, my son stopped going to church, and like everyone stopped going, and And what y'all doing with this show alone is really helping people bring back to the church. And you're coming at it with love and more, I don't know, I guess like a Latin version, or I don't know what kind of. It's more Hispanic. I mean, if you like the way y'all talk, or maybe it's Italian. I don't know. But
It's very
I
close.
really enjoy it.
Oh, Javier, you're very kind. Thank you. Pray for us, Javier. Please pray for us, because Debbie and I and our show team and everyone on Catholic Radio, we see this. We have a very privileged position, a place, a mouthpiece, if you will. And, I don't want to overstate it, but, the enemy, is always coming at every one of us, at you, Javier, at Sylvia and Jennifer and Anna and Chad, the others on the line, and those of us with a platform like the one that we have on a radio network. So, and the times are getting more and more urgent, and the attacks are ramping up. We all know that. So let's keep each other in prayer. Javier, you will be in our prayers, and we just ask that you and all of our listeners keep me and Debbie and Rich and Jeff and Michael and Ryan and all the people at EWTN in your prayers. And together, we're doing all this together, Javier. You're a part of this team just as much as any one of us are. So please, let's all go forward together, prayerfully supporting one another, please.
And Javier, if you can remember and feel comfortable with this, please email us. I just wanted to just continue a little thought that you had. I was really touched by something you said. If you could email us, take2 at EWTN.com, I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you so very much for those beautiful words. We needed to hear them more than ever right now. So thank you. Wow, that was a God thing. Don't you feel it, Jerry?
Yeah, well, it's. I love the connection that we have with the listeners, and that's what we set out to do 3.5 years ago. And we hope that you feel that you're a part of the show. You make the show what it is. And Anna, you get your turn next. We're going to go to Buffalo, New York. We get a lot of calls from the Station of the Cross, and Anna is up next in Buffalo on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hello, Anna. Welcome.
Hi. How are you?
Great.
I was just driving my car with the kids in the car, and I heard the conversation, and that's been something that I've been struggling with a lot the last few years, because all of my in-laws, they're not Christian, fell away from my sister-in-law was baptized Catholic, and I guess I don't know her situation, but I know that there's but I just know that they're, you can't really even discuss religion with some of them. So you can't even bring up, you'd be labeled as a Bible trumper, I guess. At one time, they were calling somebody else a Bible trumper. So right away, I just feel like the case is closed with them. You know what I mean? Like, if they've already received the message of the gospel, and if they rejected him, I don't think, unless they have questions, or if we can plant a seed here and there, I don't think we can. I don't think we have to keep reminding them about their sin. You know what I mean? Or correcting them.
Anna, are you referring to like your in-laws and the family that you married into? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, the family that I married into. Yes, my husband is a believer. We're actually going to start our CIA soon.
Nice.
I'm originally Orthodox, Russian Orthodox actually, and so I love the Catholic Church, and we've been going. Been on and off, but so that's a different topic. But
right, but you're going to start RCIA together. You're going to do that together. I heard you say.
Well, we have kids. We don't really have a babysitter, so he'll do it this year, and then I will next year, because I can already receive the bread. I can receive the bread on Mass as an Orthodox. So So to get him, receiving the body and blood of Jesus Christ.
Right. Well, Anna, for 20 years, I don't know how often you listen to the show, but for 20 years, I was married into a Jewish family. So, it was very, very, very different, I will tell you, but I learned so much. But let me just share this with you, because I think this could really assist you on this. I did not listen to my Dominican aunt, who was she's a Dominican sister, and she's just a great nun, and she used to say to me all the time, Debbie, when you marry into this beautiful Jewish family, she said, just live the faith. You don't have to talk the faith. You don't have to convince anybody else. Just live the faith. And I did not do that. I was constantly sort of preaching because I was excited. I was super excited about how much I was learning about the faith and how much I love the faith. And it worked with some of the family members, but didn't work with others. And I just, if I had to go back, I would have done it so differently, because my one sister-in-law, she used to always notice how I was very, very happy, even in the worst of times. And she said to me one time, she goes, "What is it about you?" And she said to me, she goes, "Is it your faith?" And she was inquiring, she was asking, she was wanting to know what it was that I had. And that was so interesting to me, that I remember that so vividly. I remember where we were sitting in the restaurant at the time. So Anna, I just wanted to say, you're in a beautiful time in your faith journey. Your husband's going to RCIA. You're going to continue on next year. You guys are going to be absorbing the faith. And it's just a beautiful way for you to live it out and let everybody just experience what you are living. And I'll tell you what, that's going to speak volumes for the faith. That's the great evangelization tool, to just live the faith. So I just wanted to say that. Anna, what do you think? Am I just going off?
Thank you. Oh, no, that's wonderful. Yes, for sure. When we set that example and people are drawn to us, and then if they say, "Wow, like you've got so many wonderful things going on in your life," well, that's opportunity right there to say, well, it's all our faith in God and our walk with Jesus. Give him all the credit. So that way we're not like pushing it on them or correcting them. So I just think that correcting people when they have already rejected Christ, I feel like it would backfire a little bit and might not be the best thing. If they have already rejected him, I think there's somewhere it says in the Bible that then God deceives them on purpose. I'm not sure where I read that, but that since they have hardened their hearts, he then blinds them.
Right. Yeah, well, and well, the thing is that we should never give up on anybody. God never does, but you're right, Anna. People sometimes close themselves off to God. They do things. Sin blinds. Sin darkens the intellect and weakens the will, okay? And when the intellect is darkened and the will is weakened to such a point that you simply don't recognize God in anything, in any way, in any form, or you don't want anything to do with him, then a person is in a bad place. That doesn't mean that person cannot be reached. They can be reached with love. They're likely not going to be reached with Bible verses and catechism passages and quotes from the popes and things like that, but they can be reached with a loving, compassionate example, a hand reaching out, a favor, something done for them, and just by the witness, the Christian witness. That's where that comes in. I think Pope Francis talks a lot about this. We live in a world, Debbie, right now where a lot of people are in that place. They're not going to be drawn in. It's like when you go fishing. You're going to have to put something on the fish hook that's going to attract the fish. And if they're not biting on all of these other things, you got to find out what they're going to be biting on. And if that's just simply your own lived witness of the faith and your acts of love and kindness, well, that's what we have to lead with if that is what's called for in a particular situation. So great call, Anna. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And keep us posted, Anna, because we want to journey with you as you and your husband fully come into the church. We just want to celebrate with you. So if you can keep us posted, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Hey, real quick, EWTN Publishing, they have been publishing their own books for some time now. And our good friend, Dr. Matthew Bunson, he is a walking encyclopedia himself. This is about his 55th book, I think, that he has written. It's St. Pope Paul VI, celebrating the 262nd Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. Widely recognized as the first modern Pope, Pope Paul VI led the Catholic Church in the wake of the controversies surrounding how to implement and interpret the Second Vatican Council. So get a copy of this book, St. Pope Paul VI, celebrating the 262nd Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. It's available at EWTNRC.com.
Did you say Dr. Bunson has done 55 books?
It's about 55. Yeah, he's an editor or co-editor of over 50 now, I'm sure.
I'm telling you, we should study his brain. It'll be amazing. Okay, Jennifer, we have just a couple minutes, but we wanted to get to you in Abilene, Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. And I just want to go back to where y'all were referencing admonishing the sinner. And my question is, I'm close to my family. I love them dearly. But if I admonish them, I'd be cut off. So I wanted to know if praying for family members would be considered admonishing them and trying to help them.
Oh.
Well, Jennifer, Debbie, you can go if you want. I have something I can say.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead first, Jerry.
Well, Jennifer, we can hear the pain and the difficulty of the situation in your heart. And the one thing that you want to maintain, obviously, is family unity, and that is so important. Jesus does say some things about family division over the gospel, and that can be a reality at times, but we want to try and make sure that doesn't happen if it's not absolutely necessary. And what we were just talking about, Jennifer, is using examples and using love to show how Christians ought to live. Words are important as well. If you see somebody doing something blatantly harmful to their soul, oftentimes, how you act toward them isn't really going to be what's going to get their attention. It's going to have to be words sometimes, but those words don't have to taste like vinegar to them. Those words can taste like honey, in the way that you present them. And you could just say, I just wanted to kind of talk to you about the fact that you do this particular thing, and I'm just wondering, maybe there's a better way of or you could just point out that I want you to be the best person you could possibly be, and I don't see you being the best person when you do that. And Debbie, you have a lot more you could say to this. I know we're running short on time. Jennifer, go ahead. Did you have something else?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that they're beautiful people. I love them dearly. It's just my sister's in a homosexual relationship, and I love her with all my heart. But to say anything negative towards her would cause her to be out of my life. My husband, who's a widower, I have two stepsons. They just one stepson just had twin babies through in vitro fertilization. I'm afraid they're going to destroy the embryos that are left behind. But if I say something that it might cause my husband to lose contact with his son, and I can't do that.
Right. We can hear your heart is aching. Jennifer, please forgive us. We are running out of time. Please, I am begging you, if you feel comfortable, email us. We have more to say about this, and maybe we could help you through this. Take 2, the number 2 at EWTN.com. Jerry and I will respond to you. We can maybe bring you some comfort during this and give you some hope, so you can dry up those tears and start to have some joy about your family and not feel that pain, because we can feel it, Jennifer. You love your family so very, very much, and we understand that. But there's ways to do this, and we can maybe we could assist you with that. Take 2 at EWTN.com. Please forgive us. We are running out of time. And we also have to just share that Marlene couldn't hold from Minnesota. She says, please, she needs immediate prayers for her sister, Joan, who's about to have surgery. And it sounds like she's very angry with the church. Marlene, too, if you can email us, I maybe can help you a little bit on that, because I'm actually going through something very similar. So the email again is take2 at EWTN.com.
All right, Chad and Sylvia, we're not going to get to your calls, and we had emails, from Eileen and Pamela and Christine and Jane. Thank you, that we aren't going to be able to get to on the air. And Jennifer, again, anyway, you're all welcome to email us anytime. Take 2 at EWTN.com. And let's all be in prayer for one another. Please, we need prayer now more than ever. And let's all pray for Jennifer especially. Let's devote prayers today for Jennifer and her situation.
Yes, for her. She loves her family so very much. And it's very important that, like you said, Jerry, the families are important. So we must lift up the families in prayer, because Satan is attacking the family. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about who have you helped to maybe get to heaven. This is an interesting question, Jerry, you're asking of who. This is going to really put us all on the spot, maybe thinking of all the people we impacted. But this is your show, Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie, so we'll be ready tomorrow. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.